Episode 73 is here.
Oh.
Not only is it episode 73, it is also December 20th today, which is my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'm going to take him to go see The Last Jedi once again, a movie he absolutely loved.
That's sarcasm.
He hated it with a passion, but that was expected. He hates most movies that he can't fast forward through. But he did get a burger and a pitcher of beer in the theater. So, happy birthday.
I thought you said a picture of beer.
No,
I just looked at it.
I looked over and he had a whole pitcher of beer with him. So anyway, this is the 73rd episode of the Rebel Scum podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm James Razile. Beside me is
Yoda.
And beside him,
Yoda. No, Brock's Mink.
and from the other side of Lake Ontario, we have Joshua Lucas from the Den of Nerds, who just passed 10,000
Wowzers.
subscribers.
Yes, they're all fake accounts from the Philippines, but I still feel really good about it. And no, but in all seriousness, yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you, because a lot of your fans also subscribe to my channel. That's awesome. You guys are incredible.
Yeah.
And also, thanks for having me on the official podcast. I've never been on the official podcast other than Revenge of the 5th episode.
Yeah, Revenge of the 5th. It's been a while.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, it's an honor and a privilege to be talking Star Wars with all you gentlemans.
Well, thanks for joining us. We have now I've unsubscribed to the Den of Nerds.
I have also unsubscribed.
9,999. We did it, guys.
Turned out I was subscribed to Denim Nerds, where they talk about denim jeans and jackets.
That's my channel.
I would subscribe to that. We have a really well. Before we get into anything, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. It's coming up Monday. We got less than a week to go. Mm-hmm. Everyone done their Christmas shopping here?
No.
Josh?
I have a couple things to get. I got just a couple things to get. I just get my family all Star Wars stuff, so like pajamas, shirts, things like that. Sorry to ruin that for you, fam, but it's good.
They all watch.
You already know.
They
anyways.
all watch.
But yeah, I have two more things to get. But yeah.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah, I got you some real nice.
All right, guys. Also, later in the show, our Facebook contest winner, we will draw the name out of a hat. I don't know where the hat went, but
it's over here.
Okay. Not the Yoda hat.
Yeah.
So we'll do that later. We have, and there is another Facebook contest. We stole this idea from Josh, actually. So if you go on the Facebook page, you share the link with this video in it. So it'll say episode 73. Share this video for it. Next week we'll announce the winner of that contest. Mm-hmm. Andrew will pick that winner, so it won't be canon. That's what we'll do. Anyway, Christmas Day we have a couple of videos coming out, Scavenger Scum, where we announce the winner of the Last Jedi prediction contest. So many contests going on. Did
anyone get it right?
I know. And then, sorry about that. Yes, Brock.
Okay, go.
Brock sending me notes to the teacher. I definitely am.
Do you like Andrew? Yes.
No, hard
Maybe.
no.
Yeah.
Christmas Day. So anyway, the winner of the Last Jedi prediction contest is coming. That was fun to read those ones afterwards.
Yeah,
that was like, oh my god, this person got that right and everything else wrong.
Yeah.
And also an announcement's going to happen, and we're going to do our favorite things video as well.
Ooh la la.
And January 1st, Joshua will be back to do our ranking Star Wars.
Wow.
Spoiler alert, I saw the rankings, and they are shocking.
I'm sure they are. They might be more shocking than The Last Jedi.
Absolutely. All right, I have to actually... Can you still hear us, Josh?
Yes, I can.
But we can't hear you.
No.
Okay, so we're gonna double you. We're gonna hear you in all different mics going forward. We botched this one up.
Is there something I did?
No.
Okay. Anyway, so let's go into the problems here that have arisen, and not with The Last Jedi.
The problem is your attitude.
Shouldn't we say spoiler warnings to anybody who might happen to not have seen it yet?
Yeah, okay, if you haven't seen it, we will go into spoilers, I presume.
Yeah.
But then what we're going to talk about is the fan divide. So basically what I'm saying is there's a problem going on where people come out of the theater either like, this is the greatest thing ever, or I hate everything in my life, I must go burn a car to the ground. And it's like, what is happening here? What happened to Star Wars fans? Well, I mean, this has always kind of been the case. But this is an intriguing part of fandom because I know what you three think of this. And Rob's not here, and I will speak for Rob, and I know exactly what he thinks of this. And it's a weird point, but Brock, where is Star Wars fandom at?
Oh, they are so They are so divided. I don't think person I haven't met, I was like, yeah, that was a good movie. Like, just so complacent, just like, yeah, that was a movie. I also enjoy other films like Murder on the Orient Express and Coco. But, like, it's so black and white right now. It's like, I hate this movie. I love this movie. Like, people feel vindicated. It's like they're shouting it from the mountaintops either side. It's just like, I hate this movie. Like, I honestly think there could be a schism in the community of Star Wars fans where, like, I no longer believe in this, and, you know, you're Protestants or we're Catholics now. We will not get along, even though we basically enjoy the same thing. But, like, it's crazy. It is insane. I keep seeing a news story saying that, like, the Rotten Tomatoes fan reviews is fake news, which I don't really understand because I'm like, well, it's not really news regardless. But
Right.
it's so... I said to James earlier this week that I was like, the next 3 months of my life is trying to, like, convince people to like this film because they know who we are. And it's like, I didn't like this movie. I'm like, okay, I didn't make it. I just enjoy the fans, or I enjoy the movie, the franchise. I can't change it, so.
Josh, I'm going to come to you last. I want to go to Andrew now. Andrew, your thoughts on the fandom as a whole?
Oh boy, where to even start with this? It's funny that you say, Brock, you hit the nail on the head there when you said black and white, and I think that's so. It's really ironic because this is the first Star Wars movie where the plot isn't black and white.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of says a lot about Star Wars fans. How we cling to the old, but we want new.
Yeah.
And that also really comes into play in the movie. I mean, how many times did we hear Kylo say, let the past die, kill it. But then on the other hand, we hear Yoda say, move on and learn from the past so that the future can be better. I think that the people who hate it, you can hate it if you want. I'm not going to stop you. The money in Disney's bank isn't going to care. Just as long as you're hating it for reasons that are practical and you're not just like, I don't like that they do. Oh, I almost said a spoiler, but I remembered we're okay with spoilers. Yeah. Okay, well, they spit in the face of my childhood by making Luke angry and killing him. I'm like, so, I'm curious if those people who didn't like that Luke was depressed and upset. I'm curious if they're the same people who thought Rey was too perfect and they wanted her to be depressed and upset.
Nobody thinks that.
But yeah, that's like the gist of how I'm feeling right now.
Josh, I came to you last because you are different from these two over here. These guys were in the theater drinking Star Wars Kool-Aid the whole way through. By the way, I really enjoy that Kool-Aid as well. But you know what I mean? Like, you guys came out, you were right away like, best movie ever.
I was like, yeah.
Like, you were like, this is number one for me. And then you came out, you're like, I love it. And then you came out again, you're like, this is number one. Josh, you on the other hand, you called me. And you're like, I'm so conflicted. Then you saw it again, you're like, I like it more. Then you saw it a third time, and you wrote on your Facebook page, this movie is you're going to write an article on it as well. Can I say what it is?
Yes.
This movie is a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece,
So, can you give me both ends of the spectrum here?
Right.
From you, and then the fandom as a whole. Because I think that actually plays into it. Like, the ideas.
Right. I think there's a lot to unpack. First of all, the Rotten Tomatoes thing, for people to say that that's fake news is kind of absurd. No, just a lot of people came out of the movie not liking it. So I think that you look at the cinema score. The cinema score is a little bit more accurate. It's a little bit higher. From what I understand, Rotten Tomatoes is all like through the internet, like barely any verification. Could there be some bot spamming? For sure. But I think legitimately, like in my experience of what I've talked to fans about, a lot of people do not like the movie. And a lot of these people have only seen it maybe once, maybe twice, okay? And especially their first reactions, they didn't like the movie. And I think, to your point, James, when I first came out of the theater, I was so conflicted. There is stuff that very much angered me as a Star Wars fan when I walked out of that film. I think the truth is it's really hard to separate like our fandom from our viewing experience. And there's a lot of stuff that's kind of like shocking in the movie, so it can be appropriate to feel the way that you feel. But the reason that I think it's a masterpiece, and literally like as I kept going back to it and sort of investigating it, picking it apart, trying to like weigh different parts against each other. You know, like where's the time and space? Like how does it play in the timing of the narrative? What I've come to realize is that it's not like Ryan was like, hey, screw it, throw everything out that you think you know about Star Wars. I'm going to tell my story. No, it's actually the opposite of that. He plays so much attention to the myth and the lore that is established in canon, not expanded universe, because a lot of the gripes I hear from people are the people that loved expanded universe Luke. Look, I'm sorry. That was never canon. It was never canon. And these ideas that you bring into your viewing experience, those are your baggages. You know what I mean? That's your stuff that you're bringing in. That has nothing to do with what Disney and Lucasfilm, and more importantly, the actual writers like Ryan are doing with these characters. So that's on you. That's not on anybody else. But those ideas clash with what has actually happened. But what's so interesting to me, and the reason I think that it's a masterpiece, is it's so hyper aware of its own fandom. It's hyper aware of how media is changing. And it presented itself in a way that was not only bold, but like shook the fandom. There's, like you said, there's a fissure right now. People are incredibly divided. And that is exactly what Star Wars needs right now. Star Wars does not need us to be like, okay, here we go again. The same things again. Everybody was so pissed about Episode 7. And for them to have the gall to now sort of hang this movie out to dry because it didn't give you what you thought you were going to get is ridiculous. So that's kind of, I guess, the basic level of what I'm thinking. Like, I'm gonna, in the video I'm working on that explains why it's a masterpiece, I'm really gonna break down the little points. But this script is tight. Ryan paid his attention to what has come before, and it's just that it's so shocking. Like, I think one of the flaws of the movie, like, because it legitimately has flaws, but one of the flaws is that it doesn't give us enough time to breathe when some of these things happen. And so you miss beautiful parts of a movie that in its totality is so great. You miss those parts because you're calculating and thinking. So that's kind of the baseline of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, what you just said there, Brie, that was my biggest complaint coming out of the movie, was especially the first 20 minutes or so, I felt like it was like boom, 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 boom. It's like, let me just relax. Let me be reintroduced to these characters. Let me know them a little bit. Chill. And that's something that I said the same thing with Rogue One. And if you watch both the reviews, I'm pretty sure that my reactions are the exact same at the beginning. And that's the thing over time that I'll probably get over, because that's just the way things are. But the first time I just, I wanted a little bit more, like, in A New Hope, when you see Tatooine, you just see like sand. I mean, Anakin hates it, but you see like sand for a little while. And there are moments like that. And this movie, everything, it's far from perfect, and it's far from terrible, and it lives in its own world, and that is the Star Wars world, and you could probably say that about every Star Wars film, except apparently Attack of the Clones, because you guys are so bad to that movie. We're doing ranking Star Wars in a couple weeks, and I saw your lists, guys, and you're all wrong, and we're just doing my list. I'm just joking.
Perhaps in regards to what you're talking about the first 20 minutes, which I agree is very fast, but I liked it. Perhaps that's sort of setting the tone for the film, because it's sort of like, go. We don't have time. We can't talk about this. Things are going to happen. So it's like fast. But to you, Josh, you're calling this a masterpiece, but then you also said it's flawed, which is totally fine. I'm not. Right. I have no problem with you saying that. But like, what do you like? How do you put those two ideas together?
So here's I guess what I mean. As a Star Wars film, here's why I think it's masterful. Because of what it accomplishes is why it's masterful. Like, what it has done to, like, now, dude, people are going to be so intrigued and curious about what happens in Episode 9, like, beyond what we've ever been intrigued with Star Wars ever before. And I think, like, the Empire Shock, like, we weren't around then, but the Empire Shock was like, what? You know what I mean? Like that. And that's that same moment when he cuts Snoke in half. It's that same thing. You're like, what? It's the same kind of a feeling, just in a different way. And I think it's modernized. It's a modernized version of the Vader moment. Because what it does is like, well, what the hell? What's going to happen now? We have no idea. Now, when I said it has flaws, I think that as people see it more and more, those flaws will sort of fade away, because at the end of the day, like for instance, after the Leia moment when she like uses the Force to come in, first of all, the moment that starts to happen, you kind of check out and you don't really appreciate that scene for how beautiful it is and how shocked everyone is. Like, my first complaint of it was like, why is nobody talking about this? But the last shot in that scene is a hallway of everyone talking about it. And they're all just like, holy crap. But you miss it because you're like, what? So it's a masterpiece. Like in a vacuum, it's a masterpiece. But because of the way it's perceived by fans, it's flawed in that way. So I don't know if that's making sense. But my answer is like, right after that scene, there's these quiet moments on Octu with Chewie and the Falcon, and then we get that pork joke and stuff like that, right? And I think that the movie really does flow within the context of Star Wars, because they all have goofy little things like that. Like, if you don't like that kind of stuff, I don't know if you like Star Wars. It's the same thing with Dragon Ball. Like, people like will hit me up and be like, oh, Dragon Ball Z, I hated this part of that episode. It was so goofy. And I'm like, have you ever watched Dragon Ball? Like, 60% of it is goofy. Like, you're crazy. So within the context of Star Wars, the universe that we're in, the tropes that we play with, I think it's a masterful handling of all of those things. And yet it sets a table where, like, you remember when JJ said, I wish I would have written this script? I think that like he means that, and I am so damn excited for episode 9, because him and Chris Terrio were probably in a room like licking their chops like, well, look, we can do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can literally do anything. Like Rey's parents thing, that could be a total lie. Just yesterday it came out that Ryan was asked about that and said, I have no idea what they will do. But in my mind, when Kylo says that, he believes it. When Rey hears it, she believes it. We don't even know if that's really the case. But it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, so to me, that's why it's a masterpiece. It's hyper aware of the times we live in. Ryan knew exactly what he was doing. The Leia moment, you think she's gone, she's back. This happens continuously in the film. He's playing with you. You think this is going to happen, it doesn't. You think this is going to happen, it doesn't. Then we see the lightsaber starting to move on Snoke's thing, and we're like, it's not going to happen because everything else has yanked it away from us. And then he cuts him in half, and it blew my mind. So, like, to me, I guess, like, that's kind of why I think it's a masterpiece.
I absolutely love Snoke getting cut in half.
Yeah.
I love Praetorian Guards. You guys know that. That's my new obsession. I love Stormtroopers, but Praetorian Guards are like... I always loved the Emperor's Red Guards, but these guys did something, and I'm like, oh, Red looks awesome. Totally awesome. Now, you talked about the humor. I want to go into humor just a little tiny bit. And I mentioned this, I think, to everybody here, is I feel like a lot of people, when they go in, and I'll say an average viewer, I'm going to go with the average viewer, not a Star Wars hardcore like us. I'm going to go an average viewer going in. And you go in and you're like, I really like Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. Those are great movies. And The Force Awakens was great because it reminded me, and I hate the prequels. That kind of guy. Let's go with that. Or they don't think anything of the prequels. Now you go in and Luke Skywalker is not in The Force Awakens. Then Luke Skywalker shows up in The Force Awakens. You're like, oh! And then that's it. And then 2 years later, Luke's back. And in the trailers, we see Luke. And Luke is like, I've seen raw strength like this before, and I wasn't afraid of it. Now I am. But the first time in this movie we see Luke Skywalker is a continuation with some of the shots from The Force Awakens, and his first reaction to the lightsaber is to toss it behind him like Wacko and Animaniacs. Now, look, we're all fine with how this happens here, and that's great. But if you are someone that's just going into Star Wars, and Luke Skywalker has never been the comic relief in Star Wars at all. He's been the straight guy, right? You go into this with Luke Skywalker, plus you add the trailers into it. He does the Animaniacs thing. All of a sudden, your perception of Luke Skywalker just goes, what's going on? Which is the point, obviously. But you kind of go, what's happening here? And then every time Luke is on screen after that, I think psychologically in the minds of all these viewers, they're like, I can't take Luke seriously. What is happening to my Luke Skywalker? And I think that is something that is really... I don't think on the surface they're realizing it, but I think that is what is taking a lot of people out of this movie, is that first instance with Luke Skywalker. If he would have just been like throwing it down on the ground or tossing it a little more seriously, I think that people going after that would take that fishing scene more seriously, the milking scene, because then it'd be like, because then all of a sudden you see your Luke and then you see your Luke progress into a crazy psychotic Luke, which Brock predicted over a year ago. Congratulations, Brock. So Andrew, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that makes any kind of sense? I'm just trying to because in the mind, when you think of it, does that make sense for people in the back of their head being like, there's something off, and so then they can never get back on board with it after that?
It makes sense that it would be a thing, a point of contention among people, like you mentioned. I remember going into this, like before the movie started, I had an idea in my mind. I was like, I bet the funniest line in this movie is going to come from Luke Skywalker. And actually, in my opinion, I was wrong. I actually loved Rey's line the most. I've seen your daily routine. You are not busy. That was
that was amazing. Yeah.
But so I was expecting a funny Luke. And we all know Mark Hamill. We know what his sense of humor is. We know he brings some of that to it. Like you said, Luke didn't really bring a lot of giggles in the originals. You know, that he was more of a serious guy. But the whole concept of they didn't give me my Luke is, I think, what at the end of the day you can boil down a lot of these hateful critiques of Last Jedi to that people want their idea of Episode 8. It's like the article I wrote for you, Josh, about why I think putting Revan in anything is a stupid idea, because everybody is waiting for my Revan.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Revan is a character you make. Revan is a sim. So you're not going to get your Revan. It is virtually impossible that you're going to get your Revan. So whatever they make Revan, you're going to hate it. Trust me. And that's kind of what's going on with Luke. People wanted I guess, a grim, badass, old hero Luke. They wanted like Mace Windu Luke. But that's not what we got. What we got was something different. What we got was something more human. And I think, personally, I thought it was all the better for it. But when people come in with these predetermined expectations, you're gonna let yourself down, baby. You gotta learn to keep that under control.
But okay, Brock. But more, what I'm saying here though is the first instance of Luke.
Yeah.
When he just tosses it.
Yeah.
Do you think audiences, as a whole, would have accepted Luke crazy had he not reacted right away in a goofy manner? I just think the psyche of an audience member waiting for the moment.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think. And sorry, it's very, very similar to the prequels. This is not Anakin, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you're like, it's not what you think, it's what this guy thinks. And it's the same thing. So I'm just saying, from the psyche of an audience, if Luke is more serious for the split second at the beginning, then he goes and milks that thing.
It's sort of like you look at him, and everyone is waiting for some huge reveal right at the beginning, which is like, that's boring. Like, it's like, oh, I'm your father. Like, that's what I would say 75% of people thought was going to be said in that scene. Something to that level, which is boring to me right in the first, half an hour of the movie. And you're like, why can't it be like in the middle, or like, the rising action of the film? But I think the other problem is people look at Mark Hamill in his current Luke getup and like, oh, he's Obi-Wan. He's Obi-Wan. So he's going to do this. It's like, no, like, yes, he is like an Obi-Wan, but like, he's not Obi-Wan, like, as a person. Like, he doesn't live the same life. He doesn't experience life as Obi-Wan. So you can't, even though he's wearing the same robe, doesn't mean he is going to be Obi-Wan. Crazy. Like, that's the thing too. And it's like, they reference Obi-Wan as Crazy Ben that lives in the Jundland Waste and all that. Like, just, he's a whatever, just leave him alone. He's crazy. But you never see that in the film. This is our first experience of a crazy hermit.
Yoda.
There. Sorry, thank you, Yoda. So really, the comparison should be Luke is like Yoda, where it's like he's not as he seems. He's putting on sort of an act, though Luke is more intentionally doing it. Because we were talking about this before, like, it would be a totally different scene if he had like gently placed down the lightsaber and walked away. But to work with the rest of it, like, you have to be like. But
I don't. Look, I like the scene as it is.
Oh yeah.
But I think if he does not so much put it down, but if he throws it more, like, not serious, but just like no, like not like like,
or even hands it back to her.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Then the audience themselves aren't taken out, because I think it takes people out of the moment. Like when I sat in the theater, you look around and people are just like, "What just happened?" And which is the point of the thing, obviously. Josh, we're gonna let you talk in a second. No, I have to mute your mic because
when
we
I
can hear
start
you.
talking, I talk way too much. So I'm pretty happy to just listen for now.
Well, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think the audience would be less taken aback if it was just a little more subtle, or?
Yeah, definitely. But I almost think that like. I bet there was multiple versions of it that he wrote, and I honestly think that like it accomplishes what it needs to accomplish by him throwing it over his shoulder. Like, like it's really, really hard to reconcile that. And yeah, the first time I saw it, I did not like it. I borderline hated it. But that's exactly what it was trying to do. It wants you to be like, no, like on some level, you can't have Mr. Miyagi, Luke Skywalker that walked away from everything but still willing to play ball. That doesn't make sense. When Ryan is writing the script, when he's in the head of the character, Luke is defeated. Luke is broken. He wants nothing to do with this. He's closed himself off from the Force. That scene is exactly what it needed to be. And yeah, it's upsetting. And yeah, it really messes with us as fans. But like, that's okay. So, I mean, that's kind of my answer. Like, I've really come around on this movie. I think that Ryan wrote this in a vacuum. I think he really put his heart, his guts into it. It breaks my heart that I bet he's getting so much negativity thrown at him right now. Because, look, James, we said this over and over again. James and I talk a lot about, Star Wars just in text and everything like that. And I think Celebration being the thing that sort of brought all of us together, by the way, which was awesome, but being there and experiencing this guy's energy firsthand, and he cares, but he cares about the characters more than he cares about what the fans think about the characters. If that makes sense. So like, I guess to answer your question, like, yeah, absolutely, and maybe there is a better scenario, but I think like if he drops it and walks it away, it doesn't quite have the same thing, because he literally throws it over his shoulder and then storms off and hides in his hut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not just that he throws it over. He doesn't like throw it over and slap her or anything. You know what I mean? He throws it over and literally hides.
Yeah.
He's defeated. And he's also, by the way, a Force god, which we figure out by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, yes, I do agree that scene takes you out of it. It's a little goofy. But I think it needed to be that way.
But it's necessary. And now I want to go into another point. The Last Jedi and the prequels, which I touched on in a second. The reactions are so similar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So similar.
Yeah, they are.
And it's just like, do you guys remember, like, because Andrew, you were like 4 years old, but do you guys? Well, actually, I think you guys are the same age. So Josh, you were also in diapers, but like,
yeah, I was super young. I loved it.
When the Phantom Menace came out, I was in grade 12.
Yeah,
that's how old I am, and I was in a computer class, and I was on this thing called the internet. And it was like, I didn't have it at home, so I would go to this class and be like, I don't know anything about computers. Like, go on the internet, and I went on, and the Phantom Menace had just come out, and they were getting critic reaction or fan reactions as they exited, and everyone was like, Jar Jar Binks sucks. And all of a sudden, the hate on this movie was starting to explode. I hadn't even seen it yet. Josh, do you think this is similar? Like The Last Jedi, can you compare it to the prequels? Is it on the same level? And in 20 years, am I going to be defending it?
But I think, right. No, it's got prequelisms all over it. But the thing is, like, that was that bold stuff that Lucas did. Like, George didn't care. And the thing is, too, the story of the prequels is incredible. It's the execution of the singular films, which is kind of whack in a lot of different ways. But I think that also, one of the things, too, that kept popping into my head that I couldn't stop myself from thinking about was like how other audiences would receive it, like other audiences from different cultures, from different parts of the world. This story doesn't belong to white Americans, you know what I mean? And I'm not even like I'm not an SJW kind of guy or anything like that. I'm just telling you how it is. This is not our story. And so for people around the world, I think that him throwing it over the shoulder, that makes sense in every language. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That makes sense in every culture. And so I think that's kind of important. Similarly, a lot of the stuff in the prequels is very wide. It's for 12-year-olds. Remember when George came on stage down in Orlando and he's like, I shouldn't say this. They tell me not to say this. but I'm a billionaire and I can do whatever I want. Star Wars is for 12-year-olds. And the crowd erupted into applause.
Well, we were in line outside getting sunburnt, waiting to get in. We watched it on our phones.
Yeah, man, it's
But you're right. Yeah. I would like to get a young person's perspective on this film, like between like 5 and 15, sort of like.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know a lot of children, so I'm hoping like people that I know that have kids are like, hey, can you just like videotape your kid's reaction after the movie?
I want to take my niece and nephew to see it.
Right, there we go.
The problem is I think they'd rather see Jumanji.
Exactly.
I have heard it's good.
I know. Well, I mean, they're kids, right? And Jumanji looks way more fun than The Last Jedi if you go by the TV spots. I'm just saying.
The marketing is like, it's dark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Andrew, how do you feel? Last Jedi prequels, don't compare them as movies, but as fan reactions. Is it just like a Star Wars problem that we hate? Not we, but the Star Wars fans as a whole just hate everything that's not Empire Strikes Back.
I think that's I don't want to blanket everything with that, but I think that's a very big majority. I know a lot of people who are like that. I know a lot of people who remind me of the comic book guy from The Simpsons, where it's just like, if it's not OG, if it's not Empire Strikes Back, it is the worst thing ever made. And that doesn't just apply to Star Wars. That applies to anything. It's like Avengers Age of Ultron is the worst thing ever made because Hank Pym is supposed to make Ultron, not Tony Stark. So it's the worst thing ever made.
Totally agree.
You can't win with those people. You just can't.
No, you
the
can't.
movie could be garbage or it could be fantastic, but because Hank Pym didn't make Ultron, it's the worst thing ever made.
Yeah.
So there's a level where some people have a ceiling that's like blinders, and you can't. Quality does not put a dent in that ceiling or lack thereof. That ceiling is just, it's never gonna go away. And so I think that a lot of the hate comes from that. This movie could have been perfect in every way somehow, but they would have still been like, it's not Empire.
Oh yeah. Well, that was the thing going into it, Brock, where we were like, there was a hope on both of us, and you actually said this on your review, where we were like, I really kind of, I don't know if you said this on air, but it was like, I'm hoping this is my favorite Star Wars film ever. And now you have said it is. But for me, I don't know if it is yet. And the thing is that I've had it for a few days. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't had it for 30 years of my life.
Yeah.
I didn't have the toys when I was 2. It's hard for me to say any of them are better than the one I had when I was a kid. Yeah. That's not to say I don't like it. And, we're doing, like, keep plugging this ranking Star Wars, but that's, like, the dumbest list ever to do. Because I'm just gonna, like, when I'm at home with Aaron, it's like, put on Star Wars. Which one? I don't care. Like, neither one of us even care. It's like, just throw it Blu-ray and throw it in there, and whichever one happens, go. That's how I do it. I just toss it. But that's how it is. Brock, does this remind you of the prequels, and does Star Wars fandom have a problem with it's not the original trilogy?
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, the stigma of, like, George Lucas's original trilogy is movie history on so many different levels. Like, it took a genre that wasn't really taken seriously and, like, oh, we could do an interesting story. I'm not going to say Star Wars is the first one, but it's definitely, like, a pioneer in sci-fi movies. But then also the technological things that George Lucas put into it. It's like, and people forget that, like, he's redone those movies, like, 4 times.
Yeah, man.
Because, like, oh, we can make this better. I can make it the story I wanted to, or I can just visually make it. Or, let's be real, I can make money again. I own 3 copies of the original trilogy in VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray. Why? And I'll probably own it in digital at some point.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's especially when you're young and coming up with this movie, it's like, oh, wow, I've never seen anything like this. It's like, and when you're young, everything is amazing. Now we're young, fickle, jaded old men that we're like, it's gotta be this or because you can never relive that first time of seeing something. Mm-hmm. I don't really suffer from that because I'm just like, we're in a new territory, and I'm not trying to be like, I am so smart, but like, we are in new territory now where we can start. The prequel suffered from, like, well, we know what's going to happen to an extent. We want to know about these characters, and arguably, if you don't like the prequels, you could at least take away like, wow, the Clone Wars show was pretty sweet, and you can't have the Clone Wars show without the prequels. So I don't know. It's again, I say it's like I'm gonna spend the next 3 months of my life trying to support this film because they're like, I didn't like that film. I'm like, okay, like I have so many people like that was a piece of garbage. I'm like, cool, like it made $200 million, so your point is moot.
Oh,
so.
it made like
to that point, I think
in
really.
3 days.
Sorry, Josh, what?
It made like $500 million in 3 days.
Yeah. Oh, is that what is that now?
It's like
450, I think. But here's the thing, though, to that point, and just to rain on your parade a little bit, it was going to make that money no matter what it was, right? Yeah. So if this movie ended up being the worst Star Wars film, it was still going to make $200+ million what it made overseas. It just was. That's just the nature of the beast. It's the upcoming weekends that I think is really going to tell us what the audiences actually think of it, and I'm really curious to see how their response is.
It's how it's going to do well during Christmas, because that's when the normies, as I like to call them, are going to go see this movie. My parents aren't going to see this movie till Boxing Day. I already told my parents, like, you might have to rewatch Force Awakens, but like they are the true test of how they like this movie. And like, not saying people that aren't Star Wars fans like us that saw it the first weekend don't have a valid point, but it's just like talking about the people who are like, oh, let's go see the new Star Wars.
It's the people that are going to say, yeah, I like to go see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the kind. Yeah. And I don't... that's really what the test is going to be. But we got to move on. There's 2 more things we want to get to before we get on to support us on Patreon.
Yay.
We'll get to that in a second. But before we get to that, really need to talk about 2 things that there's all. We're doing a vote of no confidence this Friday on will Snoke be back in episode 9, and then next Friday, Brock is with Rob talking about did Kylo lie to Rey about her parents. We have to talk about those 2 points and whether or not that divided the fans, because I'm going to say right now, I'm going to start this one off because I think F everybody on the planet. That's what I'm saying right now. Not everybody. I'm just joking. I love
every people.
I love everybody that's watching this. But here's the thing that I hate, though, is people are, and Ryan Johnson, I did an interview and he was like, look, if Snoke ended up being Plagueis and he says, I'm Plagueis to Rey, Rey's response is, I don't care. I don't know who Plagueis is. I completely agree with that. Mm-hmm. I love that Snoke was nobody. We've talked about it. It was fun as hell speculating on who was Snoke, hearing your theories, coming up with bull crap. But we knew it was BS. Like, we were just like, this is fun. Let's hope Snoke is Snoke. We've said this, Brock, off camera all the time. Andrew, I know how you feel. You wanted him to be Darth Maul. So did I. But you know, like, there was like this thing of who is Snoke. And then in the movie, I don't know what he is in the movie yet, but he just dies. Now, my one thing with it, and I'll hold off. This is the middle episode of a trilogy. I will hold off to the next one. The only issue I have with the whole scene as it plays out is that he's really powerful in the Force, and Luke knows of his existence. So you have those 2 aspects in a universe where the Force has been dormant for years. And it's those 2 things where I go, again, this is actually even more than the Force Awakens. I'm like, well, who is Snoke? And then he dies, and I'm totally cool with him dying. I love that he dies. I love it. I love that Kylo kills him. I love that Kylo's the Supreme Leader. I love this. Praetorian Guards. I said it already. I love everything about what happens there. There's that thing right there. And I think Abrams is going to take that one home. And if that doesn't get explained, I feel like his character is really kind of weak as a character. Mm. And I don't want a grand explanation. I just want, man, he hung out with Luke and learned this crap, and that's it. So Brock, the Snoke scene, do you think people have the problem with it being a nobody? Because for me, I think I call bullcrap on everybody because he's not anybody. But do you feel like that's dividing people at all?
See, that's interesting because it's sort of like I think people more are focused on who is Rey, why is Luke this way, and da 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 da. Snoke.
That's why we're saving Rey till the end.
yeah, exactly. Snoke. I never really heard come up with regular people. Like if I said Snoke to my parents, I always use my parents as an example. But I don't think they'd be like, "Who's that?" They'd be like, he's there. Like he talks to them. He's the big hologram. Like, oh, is it like? Oh, I don't know who that is. But I think if you watch the trailer, you're like, oh, there's that guy. He's the villain. And look what he's doing to Rey. So it's like, oh, he's the new Emperor. I think everyone expected it to be that. but it's and it's in Force Awakens you meet him as a hologram, just like you meet the Emperor as a hologram in Empire. So it's like, I think people are just correct me if I'm wrong, but like fans were very, very happy when Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm announced like, we are going to take Star Wars in a new direction. We're gonna give you something. Well, what was the statement? It was like, we are gonna give you something new. And then we didn't really get it till basically now. So people were complaining, you promised us new things. Here you go. This is as new as it possibly can get. But then people get mad when you're like, you go outside the formula. Like, yeah, Snoke is like a Palpatine character where he's like this weird goblin that somehow just knows everything and is super powerful, or you just don't know his power level. And then now, and we took him out. His weakness is hubris. Legit, it's like he was distracted and we took him out. Like, I think that's what people can't understand. Is like the villain has to be vanquished by like a crazy battle, and then the hero almost dies, but then he's vanquished, which happened when you think about it.
Can I just what you just said there, and what I love about that scene is that I'm so sick of the Bond villain. Yeah. Just kill the guy. Yeah. And that's what Kylo did.
He's talking.
Like, thank God. Thank God Kylo is the smartest character in movie history. He just wiped him out. My only thing is I just want to know how he got those Force powers when nobody had the Force for 30 years. That's the only thing I want to know. Yeah. And it doesn't bother me so much. And I want you got to come back after you watch with your parents and tell me, did they even care? I don't think my dad, who didn't like the movie, and my mom, my mom loved the movie, by the way. My mom loved it. But I don't think they blinked, they didn't bat an eye at this.
Yeah.
They're like, because Snoke is the bad guy, and I think the average audience will just accept that. Yeah. But for us, like looking at, that's my small. But I think I already said episode 9 is gonna come up. Mm-hmm. Andrew, your thoughts? Because I know, look, Rob hates that scene. Absolutely hates it. I wish he was here right now. We'll get into a conversation with him about it. I wish he was here right now to talk about how much he hates it, because I can't say that for him. But he said to me, well, you did a review with him. He said to me numerous times that he hates that scene. But Andrew,
just the fact that he died, he hates that, or like the whole scene in general.
I'm not sure, but something about just killing Snoke like that,
because that's a packed scene, boy. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Guys, the next video we do, I'm going to wear a Praetorian Guard shirt. I'm not even joking. I love these characters so much. I just want to. I don't care about Knights of Ren. I want Praetorian Guard scene.
Would you be mad if it turns out the Knights of Ren are the Praetorian Guard?
No, that's cool.
Yeah,
because guess what? They look and do the same thing, so it doesn't matter to me. Josh is shaking his head over there. Andrew, did that? Josh, will come to you at the ending, and so you can take it home. But did that? I know I didn't for you, but you did the review with Rob.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, am I bummed that we didn't learn significant stuff about where Snoke came from? Sure. That doesn't mean that A, the scene, and B, the movie were ruined for me at all. I'm just like, okay, fine. That's not a thing that's gonna be brought to light. Maybe not ever, but at least not right now. But him dying was super cool. Didn't see it, I never would have guessed in a million years that it would happen like that, and so soon. I love the idea of just like this halfway point twist where it's like, no, this guy's not, Voldemort's not the villain anymore. Now it's Hermione. So I love that whole idea of just shaking things up like that. Obviously, there's still a lot about Snoke up in the air, which is fine. I don't think I refuse to believe that Lucasfilm is just going to say, yeah, he was a red herring and you're never going to hear about him again. I don't think that's the world we live in. I mean, we know he can use Force lightning and he can make Force Skyping. Like, he's really powerful.
Force Skyping.
Above all, to me, the fact that he had been messing with Kylo's mind before that falling out with Luke happened at the temple means that he's been around a significant amount of time in Kylo's life. So he is important to that story. I just don't think he was important to this story.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that. And that's what I'm saying is what we got is what I read a thing. It was a tweet and it said things about, and it was a journalist. And it was things I loved, and it was like Luke 100%, Rey 100, whatever, And then Snoke was like 0.5% or something, and I was like, wow, Snoke sucks. Obviously, I love that. But Josh, from your point of view, especially the first time you saw it compared to the last time, does this divide? Is this a huge dividing point for the fans, or are people just making up excuses for not wanting to like a movie?
Okay, so there's a couple of different things operating here. First of all, I think this is something the fans are getting kind of wrong. Everybody's coming out of the theater and being like, Snoke does matter. All theory crafting doesn't matter. I think that like that's ridiculous. The whole point is no. He is ridiculously strong and crazy powerful, which is what makes that scene impactful. This is the big bad. There's a couple of different things I want to just say to some people so that when they watch it again, they can sort of reframe watching all of the Snoke scenes. First of all, yes, Luke does mention Snoke, but he only mentions it when he's being truthful, I believe. So when he's being truthful to Rey, the third time that story is told to us, he mentions Snoke. The time where he was not saying it or not telling the truth, he just says, I confronted him. He doesn't talk about Snoke at all. So there's something to that. Also, in the temple on Ahch-To, there's a stone structure that has an image of a person. That person looks remarkably like Snoke, like uncannily like Snoke, and it has a light and a dark on it. Also, when Luke first touches the Force and goes back into the Force, you see that thing rippling in the water, but it's only rippling on the dark side. Also, here we go. Snoke says after he gets all the information from Rey, he says, I did not expect Skywalker to be so wise. Why do you think we're not getting the novelization of this movie for months and months and months?
They had a printing problem.
They had a printing problem, exactly. All the ships went down. But no, in truth, it all has to do with Snoke. And the fact is, Snoke is still incredibly important to this story. We're going to learn all about him. I think that there's a lot of significance in this film. And by the way, there's a lot of theories that he's not dead at all. I do believe that he's dead, but the evidence does exist. I think the most compelling evidence is that Snoke links their minds, and they have another Force Skype call at the end of the film. So either he created something that's now beyond him, or he's still alive in some capacity somewhere. I truly believe that, like, especially when he's talking about, and I'm the theory crafter guy, so like, you know, I'm working on videos for days about what I think's going on here. But when he says, I think it's really telling when Snoke says, I didn't expect Skywalker to be so wise. Essentially, I think him sort of checking out of the Force and not coming back to confront him is significant, because that is, I think, where Snoke rather is getting his power. I believe the Force balances itself. Luke even says as much when he says powerful darkness, powerful light. Luke was the most powerful light, and I think he might have in some ways created Snoke, or at least given him the capacity to gain the power that he had. But I think that's one of those things. Just because the character dies and is killed, we think, oh, it doesn't matter. Nah, dude, you're just kind of being whiny because one of your favorite toys broke. The truth is, no, that character is super significant and means a lot to the story. I loved all the scenes with Snoke in the film. I thought they were awesome. He's so intriguing, so interesting. It's super bittersweet that he ends. But yeah, dude, I mean, like, come on. You're crazy if you don't think we're going to get Snoke novels, Snoke comics, Snoke stickers, Snoke friggin' picture books. It's going to be filled out for you. Like, everyone just needs to relax. This movie was incredible, and it just yanks the carpet right out in front of you for that. So as far as Snoke, you know, there's a lot more operating here, and I think all of the theory crafters just need to, like, realize that their dreams are not broken, and they need to get back to work, because something still is operating here. That's just my personal opinion on it.
No, I'm totally on board with that. Like, we haven't heard the end of Snoke for sure. Like,
oh no.
And how great would it be? I can't think of a specific example to like make this sound cool, but how great would it be if at some point in 9, there's a point where the hero characters come to some kind of realization where they're like, God damn it, if Snoke was still alive, it would be so much easier right now. Like, the fact that he's dead is really messing us up. Like, how cool would
Right.
that be? Like, that kind of, keeps resonating for them.
Yeah, I totally on everything. I think, we have to learn more about Snoke.
Mm-hmm.
In I think the film is where you should learn it, but because of how powerful he is, I don't care about, like, he's Snoke.
Yeah.
Snoke is Snoke. Snoke. Cool. But he's very powerful. How did he get that powerful when the Force was dormant?
Yeah.
I like what Josh said, how Luke probably created him in some way because he was so powerful in the light. There has to be the dark, and he has to rise. Which is a fine and simple enough explanation. And the minute someone says that, you're like this. Perfect.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah.
Snoke's done. Wipe him off. Kylo's a new Kylo is the Emperor. Josh, we had a conversation about this like 10 times. Brock, I'll talk about this. I'm really giddy.
I'm
really giddy. Okay, let's go on to Rey Skywalker.
Ugh.
She's definitely a Skywalker. Brock, you do a video with Rob, and you're going to be doing one with Rob in a week, December 30th, whether or not Kylo lied to her. I got to say one thing. I've been saying for, I guess, a year now, that if she was related to anybody in the film, we would find out immediately, because that's not something that you hide, because it's going to be in the back of your mind. What Ryan Johnson did was he played with us. He said, she's like, who am I? Who are my parents? And that was the crux of her story and the dark side. And when she went in, she did the Dagobah, Luke confronting Vader, but she confronted herself, and there was millions of her, and she was alone forever and ever and ever in the distance, and it was very cool and touching. And then we think her parents are coming, but there are no parents.
Yeah.
It's just Han and Leia. So go on, Brock.
Oh, that's what I think is funny about her time in the Force, belly button or whatever that was. It's like, that's dark side, but when she goes in, it's not really. It doesn't really.
Well, neither. But it's
just sort of like a strong source of the Force, I guess. It makes now that we've seen this movie, it's like, oh, now like Daisy really said it. Like, I think it's pretty obvious who my parents are for The Force Awakens. Like, so we've been like, oh, what does that mean? Is it this person? It's Uncle Plot. This is Uncle Plot and Tito. Like, they're in a love triangle. Now her statement, I wouldn't say it makes more sense, but it's like, yeah, like it's obvious. Like, she's just some scavenger from a backwoods, backworld, outer rim place. I don't even know what your question was.
Are you satisfied with?
Who she is? I
don't, because you're in the photo conference. I don't want to go into that. I don't want to ruin any of that. But are you satisfied with that as the ending? Do you suspect that we will get more of that in 9, or are we done? I'll just say right now, I'm over it.
Yeah.
Just make it done, and just move on, because that is not a plot point that needs to keep going.
I would hope there's a little bit more to it, but if there isn't, I'm okay with it, because it's just like, yeah. Josh put it great. It's like he thinks that Ryan Johnson wrote this in a vacuum, so he wasn't listening to anyone. And I honestly think that could be very true. But often during this movie, I feel like there are certain things that happen just as a slam to the internet and the fanboys, where it's like, no, we're not. It's like, oh, you think like Snoke is the big guy? No, he's dead now. Okay, bye. And it's like a lot of different things. Oh, you think Luke's going to be like the new Obi-Wan, Yoda, Mace Windu all together? No, he's going to throw stuff and he's going to drink weird sea cow boob juice. Like, it's like everything you thought was shaken. And again, that is why people are confused. They're like, oh my God. But in the trailer, I mean, he says the Jedi have to end, and that's not really the case. But that cynicism is like, this is what this movie is going to be about. And then later in the longer trailer, he says, this is not going to go the way you think, or this is not going to end the way you think. I take that as a Ryan Johnson, or just the franchise of Star Wars, going like, you have no idea what we're going to do, so you need to stop thinking you have control of this, because you have zero control. So, but I don't know. I like the idea that Ryan Johnson just wrote it because he loves Star Wars, which I think is actually the case as well.
Yeah, totally. Josh, satisfied with Rey's lineage explained, or are we getting more of it?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with it. Like I said, there's the possibility that it's a lie. I've always kind of been of the mind that it doesn't particularly matter it could be very interesting. And like Andrew and I are both fans of the Palpatine possibility. And Andrew, come on, when that mirror scenes happen in those figures, dude. You felt like it was gonna be Palp. You know
I actually felt like it was gonna be Harry Potter's parents, but yeah, that was a close second.
I know it does really look like that. You know what I mean? It has a lot of those same symbolisms going on. Am I satisfied with it? For sure. I think it's so interesting. That scene's very compelling. By the way, Adam Driver, just hats off to Adam Driver, just acted the hell out of this movie. But when he says that to her, he's like, you have no place in the story. You're no one. You're no one. Like, it's like, damn. You know what I mean? Like, it hit me. And it hits her, too. And he's like, but not to me. You know? And I'm just like, dude, that's really good writing. Like, that's really good writing. She has no place in the story. And I kind of like the idea, too, of the Force. I mean, she's a prodigy. Here's the thing. I think the more I think about it, Rey makes sense as a character because just like Snoke says, man, I told my apprentice as his power in the darkness rose, his opponent in the light would rise to meet him. And he assumed it would be Luke. But it wasn't. And the Force just found this random girl. This random girl, which, by the way, Jakku is very important to the Force. So it's kind of interesting that this happens to some thrown away girl on Jakku. That the Force decides this will be my conduit, and boom, she's really, really powerful. By the way, she's a conduit for more than just the light, though. She's got a lot of dark side in here, which I was very happy that they explored in this movie. They explore the crap out of that in this film. So she's got a real dark side to her. As far as her lineage itself, satisfied, yeah. But it's interesting. It's one of those things where it's like it's the thing we needed, or it's the thing we deserved, not what we wanted. It goes back to that Dark Knight thing where it's like he's the hero we deserve, not the one we want, or whatever that line was. Like I think that's the perfect thing. Also, real quick, I just want to comment. A lot of people are hanging on to this idea that Ryan is writing a movie that purposely slaps in the face of theory crafters and fanboys. That's absolutely not true. Like that's 100% not true. No part of this movie is meant to upset certain people in the fandom. Ryan's hyper aware of how cool that stuff is. He even says I think in a Collider article recently, he said, no, I would never tell people to stop doing this or poo-poo on their theories because that's part of the fun of Star Wars. But I think part of the fun of like the magic of the Force, the magic of these films is like you don't really want to know what happens. Like why would you want a scenario to play out that's like, yep, called it. So I don't believe that. If you believe that as a fan, I think you really need to investigate the film a little bit more because it's not doing that. It's just being honest with where these characters would organically go, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's my opinion anyway.
I think really this is about the end of the Skywalkers.
Yeah,
because what I think we're getting to the point now is no. You think there's more Skywalkers?
What's gonna happen? This is my prediction, and I'll break it here because I love you guys. This is what I think is gonna happen. You know when Kylo wipes his face and there's water on his hand from Ahch-To?
He made a baby.
They're going to have sex in the Force. In a quiet moment that's completely separate from everything that's going on in the galaxy, and he will impregnate her from halfway across the galaxy, and yet they'll still remain enemies. It'll be like one moment in this timeline, in this period of dark and light, this real conflict. There will be one moment of solidarity where they make love, and there will be a new Skywalker. It will be Rey's Jedi. It will be Rey's child. And Kylo, I still think will bite it, and I think that like he'll go out that way. But Rey will carry the seed of the Skywalkers. I think that's what I think is going to happen.
That sounds hot. I'm not going to lie.
Dude, it sounds super hot. Are you kidding me?
It's super hot. Yeah, it's weird enough to make it be like a forced birth. I'm down for that one. All right, that's enough talk. Let's go on to Patreon, guys. Support us on Patreon. Thank you to everyone that has. People keep coming on. It's pretty awesome to see. It's fantastic. Andrew, do you know what the tiers are on Patreon?
They are.
You do a video on it. You're an actor. You should remember these things.
I know there's Imperial, something, Partisan, Rebel Scum, right? Oh no, early access Imperial Partisan.
For
Rebel
$1,
Scum.
you get
There we
early
go.
access to all on our shows. For $2, you get the Imperial, which you get all of early access. Plus, you get a couple bonus shows. For $3, there's the Partisans, where you can have your emails and theories and whatnot read. So if you have a Snoke theory, bring it on, and we'll read it on this show or Scavenger Scum.
Win a date with Brock.
And then there is
lovely.
That
Win a
is
day with
that's
Brock.
only for $1. So for for $10, you could be on Duel of the Fates or Vote of No Confidence. If you watch our latest Duel of the Fates, somebody gets called out. And Vote of No Confidence, Kylo and Rey becoming Sith, which is obviously debunked now. But if you watch that one of our Patreons is on that video. So thank you very much, guys, who have done it. It means a lot to us to see the support that we're getting, and we love talking to all of you. But now let's move on to a very merry edition of Never Tell Me the Odds.
Ooh.
The odds of Santa Claus appearing on our first odd. So I'll start with Josh on this one, so we're not all talking over each other. Josh, the odds of Kylo Ren lying to Rey about her parents. We just kind of discussed this a little bit, but just yes or no on this one.
So it's a 0% chance that he's lying because he believes it to be true. But I would say there's still like maybe a 15 to 20% chance that it is not true.
All right, Brock.
I'm going to go 75% that he is lying, but I agree in the vein of what just Josh just said is like he's saying what he thinks is true, and like just the fact that they are scavengers doesn't mean like they're just mundane. Maybe they are important. Maybe there's more to them than we know.
Well, he also says that they were drunks.
Well, that's okay. Everyone has their poison.
Andrew.
Yeah, 0% that he's lying, but all of their Force convos were made by Snoke, so we gotta keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to go full Brock because I'm
Ooh la la.
I'm a wuss. Merry Christmas, everybody.
50-50.
Andrew, I'm going to start with you. The odds of Rey being a Jedi Master at the start of Episode 9.
Master? Oh, I'm gonna
She
go.
has the books.
with-
Oh, wait, I saw the books.
Yeah, I finally saw the books.
What books? Oh, the books.
25%.
There's lag.
25%?
Yeah.
Oh, you suck. Brock?
That she starts a Jedi Master?
Yeah, like Luke in Return of the Jedi.
I'm going to go full Brock on this because I kind of don't want it to happen. I kind of like the idea of her being a clumsy Jedi and that she's learning as she goes. So
Josh.
I would say 60%. I think we're getting a time skip. I think we almost need one, and I think it makes sense to, in some way, have her established as not only like for instance, I guess according to the code, she wouldn't be a Jedi, but the whole galaxy is going to refer to her as a Jedi. So
Yeah.
I think I was 60% on that.
I'm going to go 71. I'm sick of Rey not knowing anything. And now she has a book so she can learn, and I'm already explaining it. Honestly, Kylo is the supreme leader. We need the light to fight the darkness.
Yeah.
And if she's not a full Jedi, she has no chance against him.
yeah.
I mean, she does because it's a movie, whatever. But I like the Praetorian Guards. I didn't like it as much as Duel of the Fates and a couple other prequel fights. I want the next one to have my favorite lightsaber fight of all time.
That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
I really like the Praetorian Guard fight. I'm not saying I didn't like it, but it wasn't.
It was sloppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and if she's a master, it won't be sloppy. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Look, JJ, just give me a call. You can Skype me. It works sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. All right. Final odd. I'll start with Josh on this one. The odds of Jedi ranking. Oh, the odds of The Last Jedi ranking in our top 3 for the Ranking Star Wars special. Like as a whole, not just you 3 guys. As a whole.
Yeah.
So how many people are doing it total? How many?
There are 7 of us
people?
voting.
Holy.
7.
Yeah, I
7
did all the
out of
math. I
5.
have the numbers, so you can't call me a liar.
So at least 3 of us will have it as number 1. So I will say the odds are 40%.
Okay, Brock,
I'm going to go lower 25. I just don't believe in you guys.
Andrew.
88%.
Wow, I can't do this odd because I actually know the answer, and I think where it lands. Okay, it's not. It doesn't land number 1, obviously. Here's a side eye. Where would you guys be happy with it landing? Out of 7 people, where would you think? Brock, I'll start with you. Where would you think it would land?
Hopefully in the top 5.
Andrew?
I'll say top 3.
Oh, yeah. You, Josh?
I would say top 5 too. I agree with Brock. Like if it lands in top 5, I'll be like, yep, that makes sense.
Because it's not just hatred for the movie. It's also love of other movies. So, like, you got to take that into account. It's not a 50-50. It's 9 videos.
And the way I do it is the same way Josh said he did it. Is I'm like, what Star Wars movie do I want to watch right now? And I do. I'm like, I'm going to watch this one, then I'm going to watch this one. Yeah. And that's how I did it. And like we said, today is probably different from yesterday.
Yeah.
So I just wrote mine. Actually, the one I sent you, Brock, changed.
Okay.
So what I did was I wrote it. Yeah, because I think Last Jedi was like 7th or 6th.
Yeah,
or something. It was really low. But that wasn't because of the movie. That was just because of the other movies.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I was like, no, it's low. No, so I moved where it is. I won't tell you where. But yeah, Josh, you changed yours at the 0 hour.
Yeah, I changed mine after a couple beers last night.
It didn't affect the standings. I'll say that. But only because
I text James and we're talking about it. And I'm like, this is where I had my epiphany moment. I had my epiphany moment where I'm like, no, it's a masterpiece. Like I was like literally like. I'm wrestling with it, and I'm like, no, it's a masterpiece. It will literally probably be the Star Wars movie I watched the most. I'm gonna go see it again today. I can't stop, dude. Like I can't stop.
I'm more looking forward to next year's ranking Star Wars with Solo and this one because I think this one is either going to be really high for me or really low for me. Because it's a year from but Han Solo is the one that I'm like, am I going to just love this movie to a point where
it's not act something? Can I say something? I think that something interesting is going to happen with Solo, like the opposite of what happened with Last Jedi. Because I think what's going to happen is sort of like anticipation and like all the stuff we've heard about the movie is going to kind of dampen our expectations, and then it might kind of blow us away, and the whole fan community might be like, So I think that we might get a reverse Last Jedi with Han Solo.
Completely agree, and I think that's a smart reason why they keep it out in May, because you go like this one. Mixed but powerful, and the next one's just remember it's fun. Remember how much fun you had with Force Awakens. You're having that with Solo. It's awesome, which is great because we needed Last Jedi, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you need your dessert. Anyway, so I can't say the odd on that one.
Yeah. Yay!
This is the part of the show where Brock talks.
Our
first news story is not in. Our first news story is not even in the
okay, cool
thing. So because we just kind of saw it today before it went on, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah, we're gonna take a side on this one. We're not gonna be objective in our news gathering.
I don't want to, because this one's stupid. You want to just say it?
Yeah. Anyway, so there is a petition out.
Surprise.
For Last Jedi to be stricken from the Star Wars canon. It was led by an American
named Josh.
I don't have the information in front of me, so I can't. But he started a petition based on that they should take it out of canon because they did that with Expanded Universe, and that was easy for them to do, and that they should make a new movie, and whatever, just rewrite Episode 8. It's in the same vein of the petition against Justice League that we see Zack Snyder's his original cut. But this is what the gentleman from Atlanta, Georgia, Henry Walsh, feels that Rian Johnson ruined the Star Wars film franchise in general, and that since Disney erased 30 years of lore, that it can be easily done by just sweeping it away, and we'll get the Men in Black little things, and we'll all erase our memories, and it didn't happen. So he says Episode 8 was a travesty. It completely destroyed the legacy of Luke Skywalker and the Jedi. It destroyed the very reasons most of us as fans like Star Wars. This can't be fixed. Just as you wiped out 30 years of stories, we ask you to wipe out one more, The Last Jedi. This man does not speak for me. And it's just I'm
well, you don't have to sign the petition.
I applaud someone feeling something for a fictional story. It's amazing.
I blame Battlefront for this and their damn
yeah,
Reddits.
Exactly. So
there weren't enough microtransactions in The Last Jedi.
So
I know, right?
Good luck, bud. I don't know, because.
Can I field this one?
Yeah, whatever you want. This one gives me a headache.
Mr. Walsh. Henry. Henry,
wish you pulled out a...
Hank.
Henry, let's talk for a second. I didn't super duper duper love everything in the Phantom Menace. I didn't. I'm sorry. I didn't super love everything in the Phantom Menace. I loved a lot of stuff, but not all of it. So what I did for fun one day was I wrote a Phantom Menace script that I thought would be cooler. Let's see your Last Jedi script, and then we'll talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see your Last Jedi
Dude,
script,
let's
Henry
get a
Walsh.
petition,
And then we'll talk.
a reverse
Let's do that.
petition
That's great.
for
See,
him to release his script.
the community comes together
Right,
and
you
they
know what I mean?
solve their own problems. This is fantastic. Next story.
Phantom Menace is a masterpiece. Josh would agree with that. Josh, your mic's muted. Don't talk.
My version's better.
All right, so J.J. Abrams was busy this weekend because on the same day that Last Jedi came out, Disney bought a little thing called 20th Century Fox. And now, because of that, his J.J. was not forced. He had to have his meeting about episode 9 with Bob Iger. So that's cool. They talked, and as we know, I think every fan knows it's now being, the working title is Black Diamond.
You know what I love about this story? Is that when he got hired, he didn't have a movie idea.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
you want to do 9? Yeah.
So
what happened in
he's
8?
officially pitched the story. That's great. And JJ said in an interview that it's certainly something that I'm aware of now working on episode 9. Coming back into this world after having done episode 7, I feel like we need to approach this and the same excitement that we had when we were kids. Loving what these movies were. And at the same time, we have to take them places that they haven't gone. And that's sort of our responsibility. So he's just like flat out saying like, hey, I'm going to make a movie because this is what I think is good.
Have you seen what somebody made? And it's the opening crawl. And it's a Star Wars episode 9. And the first words are, "It was all a dream. The Knights of Ren are constructing a second Death Star."
That's right. All right, next story.
Boom.
Here's a nice, lighthearted story, even though it's a little sad. Ron Villemeyer, who's 69, is not. He lives in New Hampshire, Bedford, New Hampshire. He is unfortunately suffering from terminal cancer, and he is a huge Star Wars fan to the point that he was like, all I really want right now is to see this new movie. And he unfortunately cannot get out of his bed. So the local fire department and the hospital, they, through some money given by just people in the community, were able to bring him to a theater in a bed, and he was able to watch the whole thing. And apparently it was just a huge, very unique public event to see this movie, which is really, really great. And there was medics on hand, and that he was totally safe to watch this movie. And then also, I don't think everyone everyone was able to watch the movie together and what have you. And then people dressed up as like Vader, this Chewbacca, and if you look into it, there's a lot of cool fans. So this is great to know that like there's not so much hatred in the world, that we can bring happiness to one man. And if you're watching the video, you can see him right here. It's a great picture of him. So.
Yeah. God bless America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a nice story for this time of the year as well.
Merc. And the PS to our first story of the travesty that is this movie, Star Wars made a lot of money this weekend. I mean, it's constantly changing. I think this story is almost out of date now because I have that it made 220 million this weekend, but we know it's over 400.
That's global.
That's global? Okay. See, this is a lot of math in this one. All we need to know is they made a ton of cash, to the point that because of this movie, the box office is about to hit $11 billion for the year, which I didn't know was something they kept track of, but like that's kind of cool. And they're expecting to hit it because of Star Wars continue to be shown, and Jumanji back into action is coming out.
Jumanji's going to make probably 1.1
Oh, for sure. So
probably 1.1 billion easily, I think.
So yeah, it's cool, but they make a mention that it's a kind of an anomaly with Last Jedi because there's a significant amount of walk-up business for it. There's 39% over I think 39% of it, which is higher than Force Awakens. It was Force Awakens like succeeded more from pre-purchase tickets. So that's kind of neat. They're like making all these things, but it's all math, so I'm not going to bore any people with it. But like they made a lot of money. So
are you good if I skip books?
Yeah. Because I only have one, so.
Boom! Top five. Today's top five is brought to you by the Den of Nerds. They are now a sponsor. They give us money every week.
They got that YouTube money now, right? So.
What? The YouTube money needs to stay in house.
Well, you got 10,000. Like you got a jacket from YouTube today, did you not? Yeah. Like it's like the PGA Tour.
No, that'd be cool though. They should give me a jacket.
All right, today's top five are top five Last Jedi moments. Spoiler alert: if you haven't seen The Last Jedi, you're not going to want to hear these top five. Brock, let's start with you. Why do I start with Brock? There are two other people here.
Because you know what it always is? I have four things, but not the one.
Okay, your number one. Oh, wait, do I even have?
Okay, I'm going to just say my number five is...
Didn't we start with five?
That might... What? What did you say?
Well, yeah, I was saying, like, yeah, we got to start with five, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
My top five... My number five is Space Leia. Because that was cool. I don't care what people say. Like, I like that idea. And I think it could be important later down the road.
Josh?
Number five, Chewie flying the Falcon on Crate. That's like an incredible pilot. That was amazing. He's got skills, boys. So I thought that was awesome.
No. Andrew?
My number five is Leia almost dying. I've wanted to see her use the Force since I was 7 years old, and I finally got to see that.
You guys enjoy that Kool-Aid. My number five is Holdo's suicide. Kabam!
Whoa.
Good moment. Yeah, good moment.
I love when people die in movies. My number four, Yoda, because he showed up.
Oh, yeah, Yoda.
I was really hoping when the camera went across that we'd also see Anakin. But I was fine with just Yoda because he had his scene it's a scene stealer, and that's Yoda. And people are complaining that he's a puppet, and they're like, I like the Revenge of the Sith, Yoda the best. Buddy, Yoda only looked like that 50 years ago. The last time we saw him, he looked like a puppet, and so it makes sense that he's still a puppet.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew.
My number four is Broom Kid.
Oh, boo.
I was
damn.
Like his scene, like I said before, his scene kept me up at night thinking some things over. We're gonna do a video about that another time, but yeah, he hit me.
The Broom Kid video already dropped. Josh.
The opening X-Wing scene with Poe Dameron, loved the opening of the movie, and I think just Poe being, it was incredible. He's ridiculous as a pilot.
I have a feeling that is Brock's number one. Brock, your number four.
My number four is also Yoda. It's great. I was just like, thank you. Perfect.
Josh, your number three.
Number three is Rey's dark side cave moment, and I consider this the beginning and the end of the scene. The scene ends when Luke goes no and like blows, because technically she's telling Kylo, like we're seeing it happen, but she's telling Kylo about it and her feelings and stuff like that. And I loved that scene. That's my number three.
Andrew.
My number three is Holdo's death. That was just beautifully shot, everything. What a cool character for just being around for one movie. I told Rob when we were talking about this, I was like, I haven't had a Star Wars character, like, I haven't fell in love with a Star Wars character so bad, like, that was only in one movie since Qui-Gon Jinn. I think I could stand her up next to him.
Josh, have your feelings on Holdo changed?
Not particularly. I think she's a useful character to the story, but I wasn't like as taken by her as Andrew is. I don't think she's quite as like as a contrivance to the plot as I first thought, and she does leave some good like messages to Poe. But yeah, not I wasn't really feeling her.
So we're just gonna turn off this call now. My number two is every single thing to do with porgs. Porgs, and the other creatures, but porgs, caretakers, porgs, crystal foxes, porgs, chrome dome. Brock, you're number two.
What was my number three?
Yeah, I think we skipped his three.
You skipped.
What's your number 3? Oh, this is number 3. Forget what I just said about number 2. My number 3 is Luke's. I'll just.
Oh.
So my number 3 is Porgs because it was number 2, but I read it wrong. Brock, your number 3.
Your number 3 is Porgs?
What the hell? It was number 2.
My number 3 is BB-8 because I feel like this is his movie. There's so many things he accomplishes, and just sort of and it's also like, yeah, why can't a droid just do that? Like, it almost makes me wonder when he gets into the ATSD and he starts shooting stuff. I'm like, all the people that, like, the captains that have to go down with the ship, I'm like, why don't you just put a droid to do that? But anyways, I love BB-8. I want more. I also want a holiday special. So.
And so now we're on number 2.
Did you do number 3?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to do number 2 because I botched it up, and it's Luke's swan song, which is really my number 3 because Porgs are amazing. But Luke dying, guys, sorry if you haven't seen it, but Luke dies. And I remember, Josh, we did the live stream when I realized that Luke was going to die, and I think I said in the live stream, Luke's going to die.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, he totally is. And I was like, oh. And you know what? I liked it, and I don't care what anyone says. I thought it was good. Brock, you pointed out the twin sons and all that. Yeah. It's nice. It was a nice thing. He went. And my feeling is people are like, I wanted that to happen in 9. Why? You don't know what 9's about. It happened when it happened. Shut up about 9. You don't know what 9's about. Because I want 9 to be Rey's a Jedi, Kylo Ren's the Emperor, and they just go head-to-head for 2.5 hours. But that's not going to happen either. So get over it. Andrew.
My number 2 is the entire throne room scene. There's just everything happens in that scene. So, like, you've seen it. You know what I mean. Just everything.
Yep. Brock?
My number 2 is Poe's run on the Dreadnought. Like, that's fantastic. Just when he spins around like that, even though we knew like it was going to happen, like none of that stuff was really secretive. So like it's great, and I was like, yeah, this should be a video game or a ride at a Disney park.
It is Battlefront.
Yeah,
Battlefront 2 campaign mode, right, Josh? That's like half of your campaign is doing what Poe does. It's
nice.
Pretty awesome.
Oh, it's awesome. That campaign's great.
And Josh, number dose.
Number dose was when we realized that Luke is force projecting. I'll never forget that. That was insanity. They show him floating above, and like they could have easily just had him sitting on the rock, but no, of course not. He's floating, projecting himself halfway across the galaxy. That blew my mind. So that's my number 2.
So like the change in his color of beard didn't sort of tip you off, or did like?
So at first you kind of see it, and it's in the shadows. So it just made me think that he had cleaned up and it was darker in the cave. Now on second viewings, it's like super obvious that that's not him. Now as James pointed out, like he's looking like he did the last time Kylo saw him, and that's to induce those feelings, those rage feelings. And your disbelief is there. Like you just don't buy it. But yeah, like when he puts the saber through him, and I was like, oh, like at first I thought he was a Force ghost already. I was like, dude, has Luke been a Force ghost this whole time? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like confused. And then like you think back, and when they show him meditating like that, you're like, okay, so he's God. He's literally Force God.
It kind of would have been cool if he was dead the whole time.
Yeah, I like that a lot actually.
That would have been cool. But do you? I want to just throw this out, Brock. I'll go to you first. Do you think, like, I feel like he looked that way because that was the last time Kyle, like, Ben
No, I agree.
But why would he not have his green lightsaber? Right? Because Kylo also knows that the blue one was just destroyed.
Because does he have the blue one in it?
He has the green one when he tries to strike down Ben.
But Luke doesn't
know
that the
like,
blue one's destroyed.
No,
Luke doesn't.
In the projection one where on Crate, he's holding the blue one?
No, the blue one gets destroyed. That's sorry, it's the blue one. Yes.
Right. That might be a little plot hole-ish. Because then, like...
There's your script, Josh.
Yeah.
It is so flawed.
It's not a plot hole. What's operating there is Luke doesn't know that the blue one is gone. Luke knows that Kylo wants that saber badly.
True.
But Kylo knows it's gone.
No, but Kylo's rage-induced crazy person. As soon as he sees the Falcon, he freaks out. Then when he sees Luke, he freaks out.
Josh, like, I'm just trying to tell you could have got Ignite the Green. That was your Ignite the Green moment. I'm trying to play this into
No, and look, did I want it? Yeah, absolutely. But it makes sense in the context of the film. And also, like, Kylo, what I think is so fascinating as you watch the movie more and again, the next time you watch the throne room scene, Watch how Kylo fights versus how Rey fights. Rey fights with rage, absolute rage. Kylo is very calm.
Yeah.
And he's calculated, and he's just watching everything go down. The dude takes the thing and turns it into a whip, and he just looks behind himself, and he's just thinking, right? He's thinking. When he sees Luke, when he sees the Falcon, he's like, he's just seeing red. Like, he's not logically thinking. And that's the whole point, right? At the end of the movie, when he's on his knees, he realizes, like, damn, I got to get this under control. Otherwise it's over.
All right, Josh, what's your number one?
Number one, Rey. Okay, so this scene, I was literally just talking to my roommate before I came on this podcast, and I told him, I was like, look, I'll never forget this scene. It's maybe my favorite scene in Star Wars, and it's a 3-part scene. In the foreground, you see Kylo do this motion, and then in the background, you see the blue lightsaber cut Snoke in half, and then Rey's hand comes up in the middle ground and grabs that saber. Dude, nerd boner. Just like, boom! I was like, yeah. So that's my number one scene. That is a powerful shot. That's a really cool shot.
Andrew.
My number one is Luke showing up on Crate and getting things done. The hair thing everybody mentions, it went right over my head the first time I saw it. I got tipped off by the salt because he wasn't making footprints in the salt. But what I love everything about that, from the music when he steps outside and everybody like coming to watch. But what I thought was so cool about that whole section where he comes in is there's one person there who knew the entire time that wasn't really Luke, and that's 3PO.
Yep.
Like that wink is just like, I know you know. We're good with it.
So makes sense when you watch it again.
Yeah, and you can see Leia find out once he drops the dice in her hand. You can see her like feel like, oh, that's what you're doing. So just everything about that scene just gets better. Like, I've only seen it twice, but I can already say it got better the second time seeing it. And that the John Williams theme of him like going out to face the First Order, like that was gorgeous.
How good is the music in this movie?
Yeah, it's really good.
So good. So
loved it. Like when I spoke to you, because Andrew called me, after I saw it, but before you saw it, because you had to wait a couple days.
That was a maddening conversation. Yeah. You were just like,
because you're like, tell me this, and I'm like, I'm not going to tell you anything, but the music's great. Yeah. I'm going to talk to you about the music. My number one, guys, if you don't know what it is, you obviously haven't been listening. Praetorian Guards. That's my favorite part of the movie. And you know what? Is it the best part of the movie? Probably not. I don't care. That's not what this is about. This is about me having fun in the theater, and I loved it.
That's kind of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You love story and like characters, but at the end of the day, it's that weird thing you like. Like, I like X-wing planes, flash fighters. Like, yeah, you're something that like I would just watch this again and again just to watch this character walk around. The end.
But literally, like, we did the top 5, and I was like, that fight was okay. But now I'm like, oh my god, I just want to watch it over and over. And
They're
over
so
again.
cool looking.
Yeah.
I have the toy of the one who almost kills Rey, and I decided to name him Frank.
Is that the Black? Is it in Black Series?
Yes, but like I said, there's a Black Series of each of them.
There's Black Series Praetorian Guards.
Yeah, and there's one of each because all their masks are different. Yeah. The one I got is in like a 4-pack with like Senate guards and stuff, and that's the one that has Rey in the lock, and then she lets go of her sword.
How great was Kylo poking the guy in the eye? That's like Die Hard 2 stuff right there, man.
Seeing that movie,
that is awesome.
Seeing that movie twice, both times he does that in the eye, and people laughed. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. So I'm gonna keep tabs on that every time I see it.
I was sitting beside Rob, who was like this, because that Snoke scene pissed him off, and I was just like, this is what I want. This is what... Like, I didn't care that it wasn't lightsaber or lightsaber. I was just like, yes, people are moving. Yeah. And anyway, something that the more I think about it, the more I like, and I really do. So, Brock, end this thing for us.
My number one is Porgs. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what you think of this film, Porgs.
Awesome.
Someone had a huge diatribe in our comments.
That's so good.
I go, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, but Porgs. So, like, at the end of the day, put a Porg in it. Put a Porg on. No, they were fantastic. You can hate them, I guess. They're kind of annoying, but, like, I think they really added to the film.
They're not annoying at all, dude. I've not heard one single person, and this movie has a lot of hate coming
No,
out.
yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, it was like everyone was up in arms when they first showed Porgs. Like, we had been talking about it for months, but, like, I'm trying to be like devil's advocate. It's like, oh, I don't really like. I'm trying to see it from every side, but like they're just so much fun. Even like when like Luke throws the lightsaber, and it's like, oh wow. And then I'm like, they're trying to like actually ignite it, and like almost like one's looking at it. I'm like, fantastic. It's like that whole scene just like what? So, anyways,
absolutely love porgs, everything about them. Yep. I love them before I saw the movie, and during the movie I was just like, there's no way you can't like a porg. Because they're not Ewoks, but they're still kind of like Ewoks in a lot of ways. Okay, Brock, get that hat over here. We have one more thing to do before we wrap the show up. Thank you, everybody that shared our Facebook post that we stole from Joshua Lucas from Den of Nerds. You're going to win the prize pack that's on there. Andrew's going to pick a name out of here. Look at all those names right there. You see them? Can you see the names?
They all say my name.
They all say Brock Smink. If you could pick a name out of there. Right. You pronounce it Razile.
It's pronounced resume.
All right, here we go.
I don't have good penmanship.
I hope I'm reading that right. What letter is that?
Is that a J?
That's a J? Okay. I hope I'm saying this right, my friend. Daniel Ojeda.
Or Ojeda?
Ojeda. Daniel Ojeda. Either way, if that's your name,
you are the winner.
Yay!
You've done it.
You're Ray's father.
There's one more draw next week. We'll do it for a couple more weeks. Bloodline, the novel Bloodline, and a T-shirt is your prize next week. So
that's good book.
That's dope.
Yeah. So if you share this on our Facebook page, not here on Facebook, go on Facebook where it says share this post to win. Share that one, and your name will go in this, and you will win. Daniel, you will never win again. I'm just joking. All right, guys, this is episode 73, our Christmas episode. But because Star Wars comes out, obviously we talk about Star Wars. I want to wish every single one of you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. We'll see you next week for that one. Josh, where can everybody find you at?
Check me out, Den of Nerds, denofnerds.com, Den of Nerds YouTube channel, Den of Nerds Facebook. Interesting content on all of those platforms. So check it out. We're planning a big year in 2018. And you guys are going to be a part of it too, Rebel Scumbags.
As long as you rename it the Den of Porgs.
Yeah.
The Den of Stupids.
It's getting worked on, yeah. It's getting worked on, right?
Andrew, where can everybody not find you at?
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on my own other YouTube channel now. It's just called Andrew Fantasia. I got a show called Thumb Together where I just critique what's out in cinemas right now. So there's that.
And Brock.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at BFSmink. The F is for fantastic. No, it's for Francis.
Is it really?
No.
Thanks for watching, guys. You can find me at Petzafina, PEWZFAFINA on Twitter, Instagram, and PlayStation 4, where you can kick my butt at Battlefront 2. And Josh has just ignited the green. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I hope you have a great one. We'll see you Saturday for the holiday special high ground that we do, and also Friday Brock will be arguing with Rob about something. I don't know what.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. And hey, Brock.
Yep.
You were always scum.
Rebel Scum.
Thanks for taking my $200 to do that, Ryan Johnson. Really appreciate it.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.